Hello, I'm David E. Hilster. I am a critical thinker and a dissident scientist, and I'm here to tell you the truth about science, something your university professors won't tell you, the mass media won't tell you, and certainly those science evangelists won't tell you. Variety is the ingredient for progress. One of the problems in science is that we think in physics that there are only one answer to a problem, especially when we are very comfortable with what we have found. When we get into a rut, when we get into a place where everyone has to accept everything that has been accepted by those who come before them in some type of consensus, is where we can actually find ourselves stuck in a paradigm and getting so far off that we start talking about such wild ideas as parallel universes and brains touching each other, and string theory that was invented and not, which has no reality, quantum mechanics, which has gone to history eraser experiments, which are absolutely ludicrous. How do we get there? Well, the reason is because we're all together saying this is exactly what we all believe in, all subscribe to, all believe is truth, all of us say this is truth, and in fact it doesn't. So what can we do about that? Well, the idea is, well, maybe there are more than one model to the universe. Oh my goodness. I mean, you have, for instance, the electric universe group, which says that the universe is much more ruled by the electrical side of the universe than it is by the gravitational side. You have people like our particle model, which says the electrical comes out of all particles. Everything's just particles, and there are physicality to it. We have another group that talks about ether, and ether is what? A medium in which waves, light waves, propagate, and that actually gravity is also a part of that in their models. And we even have lattice kinds of theories, that is, things that are more fixed, that are actually sort of lattices that make up the universe. Now, oh my gosh, this is all crazy. I mean, come on. Yeah, you have to have experimental proof for these things. Well, the truth of the matter is right now we have to, in many of our opinion, throw away everything that we started and invented and found later. We invented lots of things like the quark and the Higgs boson, and then we found them conveniently. Well, if we step back and look at what we really know, what we really describe physically, we don't have a whole lot. Even the electron, I'm not saying the electron doesn't exist or something that has to be there very similar to the electron, but if you look at the history of the electron, which we do in our particle model, you see that it's much more of a beam than specific particles, and that we, of course, in the atomic structure, in the atomic world, say, well, there's one here, and then there's a proton, and those kinds of things. But if you really look at it, could there be another model? There can. In our model, we say there are particles that we call the G1 particle that takes the place of a lot of these things. But there are many more of them. That is, there's not just one electron going around for a helium, but in fact, there are many more than one. So, who is right and who's wrong? Well, we don't have a picture of one electron going around an atom. So there you go. How do we know? We don't know. And this comes to the point of, well, when we get stuck, when we are now at a point where our models are failing us. The truth of the matter is we don't have a model. The standard model, as like I've said before, is not a model at all. It's a theory, and who knows what it really is, because that it is a mess according to many of us. And so what do? Well, at that point we say, like business. What happens in business when you have a business model that's stuck? Let's say you have a restaurant chain, and you notice you're not growing anymore. Well, maybe because you're not doing anything new. You got to have something new coming out, something new ideas. You have to break the mold. This is one of the things that's called disruptive. So maybe the problem with physics is we're not disrupting it with new models. We've got one surfer dude saying it's, 256 concentric circles or something like that. It's really somewhat very absurd, because there's no physicality to that any more than anything else. So if we're to disrupt physics and say we are stuck in cosmology. We'll have to come up with new models. And we're in the brainstorming phase. We're in the brainstorming phase of physics right now. We are in the midst of a paradigm shift. And we already have people working on this for a long time. And we have several competing models out there that have very good points. All of them, some of them fail in one area where others do not. And so, is that wrong? Does that mean that the universe only works in one way? Most likely, it does work in one way. But until we can get to a certain point where we actually see these things, or we can actually show one model's better than another, and that model becomes so accepted that then we say, okay, now we have a different truth. This is a new truth that we can all sort of accept. We need to disrupt physics, just like we say to do that in our business world. Uber disrupted taxis. Airbnb disrupts hotels. We have all of these things coming out and disrupting. Amazon disrupted all of the big merchant box stores where you went to buy stuff. So why is it not the case that we can't come along and disrupt physics with a different model? Maybe even a couple that work pretty well until they fight it out. Well, we need to have a place for that. No universities do that. You can't go to university and say, hey, okay, we are going to give out doctorate degrees on the models. So everybody put their models together and we're all going to work on them. Nope. You're in the standard model or you're not in any model at all. Until somebody outside disrupts it. And guess what? We already have an organization for that. We already get together and we've been disrupting physics and cosmology for decades. And our models are getting better. We're finding out problems and we're getting some solutions. And I've already talked to some that I have seen that I think is great, like infinity. But there are other people who believe in infinity, and I'm hoping to talk to more people like that. So in this idea of disruptive physics models and physics theories, so because we need to do that to kick forward and get out of an incredibly, how do you say, a bit insane model that most lucid people are going, yeah, I don't buy it. We need to do something, and I'm going to be in the coming weeks interviewing people. I tried to do one on Friday. We did the whole thing, and it turned out that I got OBS wrong and didn't get the audio when we switched pictures. You may have seen that up for a little bit. Well, I've got that solved now. It wasn't super easy to solve. Just didn't think about it. I get so excited about but I'm going to talk with Greg Volk. I've got other people. Nick Percival I want to talk to. I want to talk to Andrea Cis from Brazil, who has this great book, Relational Mechanics. Oh my gosh, it's like real stuff. It's not fantasy things with attributes, weird package with bad attributes. Well, anyways, I've got lots of other people I'm trying to line up. Ron Hatch, the GPS guy, all these people. Even if it's by phone, we're going to get them on the line, and we're going to see different people with their different ideas. And guess what? Like I always say, don't take what anyone says on faith. Not anybody interview, not anybody else. Read it yourself. Stay critical. Stay thinking. I'm Dave D. Hilster. I am your science therapist. And yes, we're out there to disrupt physics. Ciao for now.